Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Jason West, and in a minute you're going to see an amazing Lyme patient success story. Her name is Bree, and what a warrior. Her main symptoms were head pressure, cognitive brain fog, and just debilitating fatigue. And so Bree had a tick bite in 2015. She had a couple positive Western blot tests, a whole bunch of treatment that didn't work, and she just couldn't function. And after a series of treatments, she not only got her life back, she beat Lyme disease. So meet Bree, she's one of my heroes, and after her story, I'll share with you more information about treatments that most healthcare providers don't even know about. So here is Bree and Dr. West inside the West Clinic just a little while ago. Imagine being totally bedridden, no energy, can't be a mom, can't do your normal activities of daily living, hurting everywhere, and then being that way for 6.5 years and getting it all back. You're not your diagnosis, you can beat your disease, and in a minute you're gonna meet Bree and hear her story. She's part of my hero book. I am the hero of my own story, and when someone gets sick, they're not their disease. There's a person in there. Hi, I'm Dr. West, and I post about real people, stories, treatments, and patient outcomes. Stick around at the end of the video. I'll tell you the treatments that we provided for her. Here's Bree. Hey everyone, it's Dr. West and Bree, and I'm really excited for Bree to tell your story because it's just been an amazing transformation. And so today is our reevaluation day, and Bree is going back to the great metropolis of
Chehalis, Washington.
So it's really a commitment to get here. I'm always honored and humbled when people come from far away. And it's just been really enjoyable. I love Bree. It's awesome. So anyway, here's what happened. Bree came to the office not feeling very well. Bree, when you first came in, what'd you feel like?
Well, I just laid around all day and I really felt terrible. I felt terrible in my mind and my body, everywhere.
And we were asking today, the last time that you felt well was like 6 or 7 years ago.
6.5 years ago.
And now you're feeling like you got on the treadmill.
I got on the treadmill for 20 minutes this morning.
You were jumping and bouncing around watching a football game,
Yep.
And your husband was like, "Oh my gosh, who is this?"
He was.
So that was fun to hear about. And so from the time we've started to now, like there's some significant improvements.
Yeah.
Like what are the improvements that you feel?
Well, I definitely have more energy and I can do some things and I don't feel terrible doing them. I might have done things before, but I did very few things, but I felt terrible. It was dragging myself to do them. I'm doing more things around the house and I'm enjoying it. You know, everything's such a gift, even dishes. I'm like, wow, I can do the dishes and I feel great. And I went shopping a little bit over the holidays. You know, I'm definitely enjoying doing small things.
And the diagnosis that you had when you came here, did you know what you had, or was that something we helped with?
Actually I did know what I had. I did know that I had Lyme disease, yes.
So she had Lyme disease, she's been sick for 6 years, was laying around all night, couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start calling it the dishes treatment, because when people are happy doing the dishes, like we must have done something amazing.
I am too.
So the treatments that we did for you, what did we do?
We did IVs, a lot of IVs, and then we did some neurotherapy and the HCT therapy, and then we did acupuncture.
And we also did a customized nutrient program for her. Like we looked through blood tests and we designed what to do. So we focused on getting the nervous system to reset, because a lot of times when people don't feel very well, their nervous system accepts that as being normal. And one of the important things that we do in the office is you reset that. You help people to basically turn the nerves off, turn them back on. And then the vitamin infusions and the HCT that she's talking about is called healthy cell therapy. It's a way to get basically your stem cells and everything back working and engaged and stuff like that. And it's just been so fun to be part of this journey. Like it's been an amazing transformation. And you first came in, it's hard for you to get to the office, so it's a big commitment to come, but we first started treating you when?
August of this year. Of last year, sorry.
And so August of 2019.
Yep.
And now we're having someone that is enjoying doing the dishes, is jumping around. Her husband doesn't recognize her anymore, and she's getting ready to go home. And we're transitioning her to maintenance and long-term care and some other things. And it's just been so enjoyable to be a part of this, and we've really connected. And anyway, so Bree, we talked about posting stories of hope and things for people. Is it okay to share this with other
Absolutely,
people?
yeah.
So we're going to put it up on social media. You are not your diagnosis.
No.
Chronic infection causes neurodegenerative behavior, fatigue, autoimmune illnesses, and when you get the energy back in people's immune system, you get people that were lying around and couldn't function, and you get people just like Bree.
Happy doing the dishes.
Happy doing this. So Dr. West and Bree, checking out. We'll see you guys on the next video.
It's a wonderful feeling to help someone like Bree. We treat normal, everyday people, professional athletes, and people struggling with complex and complicated medical conditions. The key to Bree's turnaround was this. Number one, her desire to get better. Number two, taking ownership of her lifestyle, getting her body on a schedule, a customized blood test and nutrient plan based upon the deficiencies that she needs. About 10 to 12 treatments of high-dose vitamin C, 50 to 75,000 milligrams, and UVB therapy, a nerve reset therapy called neural therapy, and healthy cell therapy, a homeopathic way to reboot and nudge your stem cells.
Hey, thanks for watching. I've been helping chronic healthcare conditions for the last 22 years. A low immune system, medical failures to chronic and complex conditions, autoimmune disease, and especially Lyme. So if you've been on my Facebook page or YouTube channel, podcast, you've seen the many hundreds of patient success stories. And so we've developed a Lyme disease information course. It's an incredible program that talks about what is Lyme, do you have it, how to test for it, the wrong common treatments for it, and the breakthrough treatments, and most important of all, the patient success stories of patients beating their disease. So if you or someone you know has Lyme disease, please share the link, drjasonwest.live. You'll be seeing information and education every day this month on Lyme disease. I even have a bonus presentation that's happening right after this about what is Lyme disease, and I'll see you on the next patient success story. Remember, live, just don't exist. I'll see you guys on the next video. Hey, I'm Dr. Jason West, and welcome to the presentation on what is Lyme disease. The great imitator. Let me just walk you through what I've learned over the last 22 years of taking care of patients and this chronic, difficult, hard to treat, mismanaged, misdiagnosed condition, and the breakthroughs that we've been able to see with the hundreds of patient testimonials that we have. So with Lyme disease, what is it? Well, this is the spirochete. This is the bacteria that causes so many different things, from joint problems to nerve problems to autoimmune-like conditions. And it's just a nasty little guy. And so what we want to do in this presentation is walk you through, who has it, and give you some ideas of what to do about it. And so Lyme disease, it's one of the most controversial illnesses in the history of medicine. It's the fastest growing infectious disease, and it's quickly sweeping the country as more people are starting to understand it, understand the symptoms, the exposure, and the risk factors. It now infects more people than HIV and AIDS, and the diagnosed cases are increasing at a rate of 50% per year. And it's a devastating illness with consequences. If you don't treat it early, if you don't treat it right, then it can just really have an impact not only on the patient, but the patient's inner circle or support structure. So a reporter, Jerry Leonard, said, according to the CDC, this multi-system, multi-stage illness is capable of inducing chronic disorders, chronic inflammatory arthritis, musculoskeletal pain, and nerve disorders. And if you put 40 people in a room, what'll happen is you'll see 40 different presentations. Some people have joint problems, some people have heart problems, nerve problems, autoimmune-like problems, brain problems, cyclic mood disorders, hormone imbalances. There's just so many different things that this condition can, or this disease can cause. According to Dr. Virginia Schler, we're dealing with a formidable, smart stealth type bacteria that's hard to eradicate, and one that does extreme damage to the psyche and the soma if not treated aggressively over the long term, and when missed the first following days of inoculation by the vector. So I really like this graphic. This bacterial, it kind of acts like a virus. It can act like a bacteria. It's just a really complex spirochete strand bacteria, and really affects so many different conditions of the human body. And so the number of Lyme disease cases in the United States has doubled in the last 30 years. It estimates there's 325 to 500,000 new cases every year, and it's larger than AIDS, West Nile virus, and avian flu combined. And there's so much inaccurate testing and underreporting. Only a fraction of the cases are treated due to inaccurate testing and underreporting. Each year, hundreds of thousands of people go undiagnosed and told their symptoms are all in their head. And this is one of the most frustrating things that I see of someone that's treating Lyme disease in the trenches all of the time, is if it doesn't fit inside a clean diagnostic category, most of the medical treatments are, well, it's either you're a hypochondriac, you need to work, you need to get a job, you need to exercise, or here, you need to take this happy pill or antidepressant, and you just need to move on with your life. And it's so frustrating and difficult for the patient and for the inner circle, the support structure, the family, the friends, and the children of the patient that's suffering with Lyme disease. I love this California medical survey. Half of the Lyme disease patients reported seeing at least 7 physicians before their Lyme diagnosis was made. Nearly half of the Lyme disease for more than 10 years and traveled over 50 miles to obtain treatment. The latest news, why haven't you heard about it? The media is silent because the doctors and insurance companies dismiss it as a hypochondriacal disease, and they've done it for years to sufferers of people that have fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, mixed connective tissue disorders. I think it can get into your nervous system, and you can be diagnosed with multiple sclerosis type symptoms, or it can get into your joints and you can be diagnosed with polymyalgia rheumatica or ankylosing spondylitis, where that bacteria is attacking your ligaments, and then the ligaments, the body's response is literally almost like a scar-like formation, and it creates these really rigid ligaments. Or fibromyalgia or myalgic encephalopathy. There's so many different conditions that can be caused and be diagnosed under an umbrella that are really caused by Lyme disease. And there's no cookbook medicine. It can be expensive to treat. Untold number of patients have it. There's no protocol that's completely effective for all patients. And this is so hard, and this is where I see so many problems inside of the medical system, because you do a Lyme protocol for patient A and they may get a really good outcome. The patient B comes in, very similar symptoms to patient A, and you know what happens? You do the same protocol and the patient doesn't respond. So you really have to be able to do different treatments. Sometimes it's energy balance. Sometimes it's immune system stimulation. Sometimes it's biochemistry. Sometimes it's biomechanics. And stomach absorption issues and food intake. All of these things have such an enormous impact on Lyme disease. And I think that's why so many healthcare providers get frustrated with the Lyme disease. Now, it's so often that the patients automatically get treated with an antibiotic approach. And if the root of all of it, confusion, ego, power between doctors against other doctors, the insurance companies, the denied medical claims, I love this statement: Lyme disease is dramatically misdiagnosed, and there's too much denial by doctors that chronic Lyme even exists. A researcher, Dr. Klaus Kurtenbach, said, "We know that Lyme disease cases are continually rising in the United States, and the number of new cases in the United Kingdom appears to be increasing as well." And so this is what that bacteria looks like, this Borrelia burgdorferi, and it's this corkscrew-shaped bacteria. And one thing that most healthcare providers don't even know about is the ability for it to change phases. So I believe there's a spirochete phase, a dormant phase, an intracellular phase, a spore phase, and a biofilm phase. And the medical treatments for the PCR and the Western blot only are testing for one phase. So they're missing 60 to 80% of the infection markers because we're only testing for one particular phase. And I go into that in a lot more detail inside of our Lyme information course. So this condition, is a cyclic disease that really attacks the weak link of the body. And I love this picture here of this person that has this unhappy face. And the reason why is because if you don't feel good, it's really hard to have healthy emotions. If you're having unhealthy emotions, it's hard to feel good systemically. And this is a really good depiction of what happens with people that have this chronic condition. So the alterations, or what happens with this disease, is it gets in your system and it causes, literally attack of the condition, but it's also so hard on your brain, changes your chemistry, your function, your structural changes. And I really think that this is another great picture of the neuropsychiatric components of chronic Lyme disease and infections. And by the way, it's not just Lyme disease. It's Epstein-Barr, it can be MRSA, staph infection, herpes simplex 1, the canker sore virus, herpes simplex 2, the genital version. It can be cytomegalovirus, parvovirus. These chronic healthcare conditions literally cause neurobehavior, neurodegenerative, psychiatric, autoimmune, and fatiguing illness. And what's frustrating is there's not a lot of medical approach to increase or improve the immune system. So there's antibiotics that are killing bugs, there can be some antivirals, and there can be some antifungals, but no one's really trying to boost the immune system. And in particular, what's really important with Lyme disease, and this is what you'll see in the patient testimonials, you have to be able to drain the jails of the body, which are the lymph nodes, which there's a really neat effective treatment that's inside the scientific literature of using potassium and hydrochloric acid to change the hydrogen ion content in those lymph nodes and to get them to get rid of the infection that if you don't do that, there's no place for the body to take the bacteria and properly process it. So that's one thing. There's no one that's really trying in the medical world, except some centers of excellence. They are really hard to find, where you're reprogramming the nervous system, because if you're sick long enough, your body thinks that being sick is normal. So that German treatment developing by Dr. Huneke and Dr. Dosch about neural therapy and how it reprograms the nervous system, no one's really going in and trying to help these chronic nerve memory problems. And so this is just, again, an accurate assessment of what's happening. ABC News talks about, 20,000 Americans are infected and treated every year, but countless others go undiagnosed. And the Lyme disease may include headaches, major memory loss, rages, seizures, coma, as well as inflammation of the heart, bone lesions, and loss of vision. And the cause, again, is this bacteria that the body just doesn't recognize very well. And so the body thinks that, hey, this is normal. And then what happens is this vector that caused the disease is so often overlooked, and we just aren't treating it effectively. So with that in mind, I just wanted to give a real quick overview of what is Lyme disease. We have a program, if you're interested, about what Lyme disease, how we test for it, are you at risk for it, can you transmit it, why antibiotics, in my experience, is not the way to take care of Lyme disease. It's about immune system stimulation, and it's all about getting the body in balance. So if you go to drjasonwest.live, there is a course that we put together about Lyme disease. There's a whole bunch of patient success stories of wheelchair to walking and not being able to get off the couch, and Zach's story and Bree's story and Wes's story and Lily's story that we put together to help people have hope that you can beat your disease. So I've been taking care of Lyme disease for 22 years. I'm excited to be able to give this information for people. If you'd like additional information, there's a couple different places you can pick it up. We have an ebook available, a course available, and some recommendations where you're across the street or across the country. I'm Dr. Jason West, and this is all about Lyme information course. We'll see you guys on the next video.